Imagine this: you are one of Rome's most powerful senators, your family's honor carved in marble, your toga marked with nobility. Tonight you dine with the emperor himself. But as you climb the palace steps, your chest tightens with dread. For behind those golden doors awaits not a feast of triumph, but a nightmare that will strip you of dignity, and test just how far you'll go to survive Rome's most dangerous man. Section 1. Picture this: you are a Roman senator in the height of the empire's golden age, or what the poets insist is golden. Your family's lineage is carved into marble, its triumphs recorded in the dusty scrolls of state archives. You have spent your life in service to Rome, speaking in the Senate, leading campaigns abroad, ensuring that your name will live on in history. Tonight should be a crowning honor. You have been invited to dine at the palace of Emperor Lucius Aurelius Varro, a man both adored and feared, who rules not only Rome but the known world. The golden invitation lies heavy in your hand as you climb the steps of the Palatine Hill. Torches flicker along the marble stairway, throwing shadows across the faces of the Praetorian guards stationed at the entrance. They do not meet your gaze. Their silence is not respect, it is fear. Inside, incense burns thick in the air, but beneath the sweetness is another scent, dread, as tangible as smoke. Senators and their wives stand in the great hall, stiff and uncertain. Wealthy merchants whisper nervously. Military commanders, men who once stood fearless on battlefields, now avoid eye contact with each other. Then footsteps. Slow, deliberate, echoing through the corridor. And with them, laughter. Not the hearty laugh of a man at ease, but something sharp, manic, unsettling. Emperor Varro enters. He is dressed in a robe woven with threads of silver, gleaming like water under moonlight. His dark eyes sweep the hall with a predator's patience. He does not simply look, he consumes. Finally, he claps his hands, the sound echoing like a whip crack. "My dearest companions," he proclaims, his voice smooth as oil yet edged with something dangerous. "Tonight we shall discover who among you truly loves their emperor. Tonight, Rome will witness loyalty tested in ways you could never imagine." The words hang in the air like poison. Section 2. A ripple of unease spreads through the room. No one dares speak. Some try to smile, to nod in forced approval, but their eyes betray them. Fear is everywhere. Emperor Varro steps forward, gliding more than walking, his sandals clicking lightly against the marble floor. He extends his arms, as though he is both host and high priest presiding over some ritual. "Rome," he says, "is not merely built on laws or armies. Rome is built on devotion. Devotion to me. And tonight I shall see which of you understands this truth." He lets the silence stretch, long enough that you can hear the nervous shifting of feet, the quiet rustle of silk, even the quickened breaths of those who dread what comes next. Finally, Varro gestures to the massive banquet tables that line the hall. They are heavy with roasted pheasants, gleaming fish, honeyed figs, and wines so rich their fragrance alone could intoxicate. "Eat, drink," the emperor commands. "Celebrate! For Rome is eternal, and so is my reign." The courtiers obey. They sit, but no one relaxes. You take a place beside Marcus Severus, an older senator whose face is pale, lips pressed tight. He leans slightly toward you and whispers, barely audible over the scraping of chairs. "Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not refuse anything. And above all, do not look away when it begins." "When what begins?" you whisper back. Severus shakes his head, eyes darting nervously toward the emperor, who now sits at the head of the hall upon a gilded throne, a smile carved upon his lips like a mask. Varro raises a goblet of wine, and the entire hall imitates him in silence. "To Rome!" he declares. "To Rome!" the hall echoes, though the voices sound hollow, like prisoners saluting their jailer. Then, with a sudden flick of his hand, Varro signals. From a side chamber, musicians enter, their flutes and lyres beginning a lilting melody. And behind them, slaves. Dozens of them, boys and girls alike, draped in sheer fabrics, their faces painted, their eyes vacant. They move in a slow procession toward the center of the hall, where carpets have been rolled out and cushions arranged. The senators stiffen. Wives lower their eyes. A merchant mutters a prayer under his breath. You feel your stomach twist. Varro leans forward, his voice silk and iron. Tonight Rome dines on more than food. Tonight I feast not just on meat and wine, but on your obedience. Let the games begin. He claps once more, and the nightmare begins. Section 3. The music swells. The painted slaves begin to dance, but this is no performance of grace or art. Their movements are heavy with suggestion, twisted caricatures of the sacred rites you once saw performed in temples. A few senators try to laugh, raising goblets as if the spectacle were amusing, but their laughter cracks quickly under the weight of what everyone feels. This is not entertainment, but humiliation staged for Varro's pleasure. The emperor watches with eyes that glitter too brightly. He sips his wine slowly, savoring not the drink but the discomfort that spreads through the room like wildfire. Then, as if bored with the dance, he rises from his throne and strides among the guests. His robe of silver threads whispers across the marble as he walks. He stops behind Senator Decimus, a man whose family has ruled estates in Sicily for generations. Varro sets his hand upon the senator's shoulder, the gesture almost affectionate. Decimus, he says warmly, your wife has caught my attention tonight. Look at her, radiant as the goddess Juno herself. Decimus's wife, Livia, sits frozen beside him. Her knuckles are white around her goblet. The emperor tilts his head, studying her like a collector admiring a rare piece. Tell me, Senator, Varro purrs, does she love her emperor as much as you claim to? The hall goes silent. Decimus swallows. His lips part, but no words come. He glances at Livia, then quickly lowers his gaze to the floor. At last he forces out a reply, his voice brittle. Yes, my lord. She is devoted to Rome, and to you. Excellent! Varro beams, clapping Decimus on the back so hard the senator nearly spills his wine. Then prove it. Livia's breath catches. She whispers, My lord? The emperor's smile does not falter. Rise, he commands. Slowly, trembling, she stands. Varro gestures toward the center of the hall, where the painted slaves still writhe under the torchlight. Join them. No, she whispers. Her voice is barely audible, but in the suffocating silence it sounds louder than a trumpet. Varro's expression changes in an instant. His eyes narrow, his jaw tightens. The room freezes. Then he laughs, a sharp, manic sound that makes your skin crawl. You hear that? She hesitates. He turns to the assembled senators, spreading his arms wide. Does Rome hesitate when I give an order? No, lord, the chorus answers weakly. Varro's gaze returns to Livia. His voice drops, low and deadly. Then neither will you. Section 4. Livia trembles where she stands, her silk gown shimmering in the torchlight. Her eyes dart desperately toward her husband, Decimus. He stares down at the marble floor, his face pale as ash. He does not move, does not speak. You understand in that moment, he cannot save her. None of you can. The emperor crooks a finger, beckoning her forward. Come, he says, his voice soft but edged like a blade. Do not make me ask twice. Livia's steps are hesitant at first, each one echoing loudly in the silence of the hall. The dancers part for her as she approaches, their painted faces expressionless. When she reaches the circle of cushions, she stands frozen, hands clutched together as if in prayer. Varro descends from his throne, moving with theatrical slowness, savoring the moment. He circles her like a predator, the silver threads of his robe gleaming as he passes through firelight. Look at her, he says to the hall, his voice dripping mockery. The daughter of noble blood, the wife of a senator, the matron of Rome. And yet tonight, he pauses, letting the tension stretch. Tonight she is mine. A murmur ripples through the room. Some avert their eyes, others, compelled by horror, cannot look away. Varro takes Livia's chin in his hand and tilts her face upward. She closes her eyes tightly, but he chuckles. No, no, my jewel. The gods gave you those eyes to shine in devotion to me. Open them. Slowly, reluctantly, she obeys. Her gaze is glassy with tears. You see? Varro calls to the assembly. Obedience is as simple as opening one's eyes. Even the proudest among you will yield, given the proper encouragement. He releases her chin and turns back toward Decimus. Senator, watch closely. Your wife's loyalty reflects upon you. If she falters, it is your honor that crumbles. Decimus's lips tremble, but he nods stiffly. His knuckles are white against the edge of the table. The Emperor spreads his arms wide, as though presenting a spectacle in an amphitheater. Let Rome witness what devotion looks like. The musicians strike a harsher chord. The painted slaves resume their dance, weaving around Livia as if she were already part of their number. Varro's smile widens as he gestures for her to move with them. She hesitates, her body rigid with shame. The Emperor's voice turns cold. Dance, or your husband will join the gladiators tomorrow, unarmed. At that, she breaks. With stiff, halting movements, Livia begins to mimic the grotesque motions of the painted slaves. Her gown sways, her tears catch the light, and the hall fills with the suffocating silence of forced complicity. Varro, satisfied, raises his goblet once more. To Rome, he says, and drinks deeply as Livia's humiliation becomes the evening's entertainment. Section 5. The spectacle unfolds with a slow, deliberate cruelty. Livia's movements, jerky and graceless, make the painted slaves look almost graceful in comparison. She is no dancer, and her humiliation is the point. Her tears are visible now, glittering under torchlight as her body bends unwillingly to the rhythm. You feel your stomach twist, bow rising in your throat, but you dare not look away. Marcus Severus's warning echoes in your mind: do not refuse anything. Do not look away. The Emperor circles her with an almost religious reverence, raising his hands as though conducting the music itself. Yes, Varro says, his voice ringing in the chamber. This is devotion. Devotion is sacrifice. And Rome demands sacrifice. A few guests raise their goblets again, trying to mirror his enthusiasm, but the sound of their half-hearted toasts only deepens the grotesque parody of celebration. Then Varro snaps his fingers. 2 guards step forward from the shadows and seize Livia by the arms. She gasps, twisting against their grip, but their hold is iron. Enough dancing, the Emperor says, his tone suddenly brisk. Let us see how deeply this loyalty runs. The guards drag her toward the dais where Varro's throne sits. She stumbles, her bare feet scraping against the marble, her pleas lost beneath the murmur of shifting guests. Decimus lurches halfway to his feet, face contorted in anguish, then freezes as Varro's eyes fall upon him. Sit, the Emperor commands. Decimus collapses back into his chair, trembling, his lips quivering with unspoken protest. Varro leans close to him, speaking loud enough for the hall to hear. Do you see, Senator? Your honor lies in her hands now. Every eye in this room is upon you. Shall your family be remembered as loyal servants of Rome? Or as traitors? Decimus cannot answer. His throat works silently. Varro smirks and gestures toward Livia, who is forced to kneel before his throne. Then let us decide together. Tonight Rome will learn what obedience looks like when stripped of every pretense. The musicians stop. The hall falls utterly silent, except for the soft sound of Livia's muffled sobbing. The Emperor's eyes sweep the room, drinking in the fear, the shame, the suffocating silence. His smile widens, triumphant. Now, he says, the real feast begins. Section 6. The Emperor lowers himself onto the throne with a theatrical slowness, silver robes spilling around him like liquid metal. His gaze fixes on Livia, trembling before him on her knees. He raises a single finger and points at her husband. Decimus, Varro says, his tone deceptively casual. Approach. The senator hesitates. For the briefest moment, you think he might defy the command. His hands tremble, his eyes dart toward the exit as though some desperate escape might still exist. But the Praetorian guards block every doorway, their spears angled just enough to remind everyone that no one leaves the Emperor's hall without permission. Decimus rises slowly, his shoulders hunched, his steps dragging as though each one carries the weight of his family's doom. He comes to stand beside his wife, who looks up at him with wide, tear-streaked eyes. 1,000 unspoken words pass between them in that glance: shame, sorrow, helpless love. Varro leans forward, resting his chin on his hand. "Tell me, Senator," he murmurs, "what would you give for Rome?" "For me? My life, Lord," Decimus answers hoarsely. The Emperor chuckles, a sound both cruel and amused. "Your life? A pitiful offering. Anyone can die. What is truly valuable is what you endure." He gestures, and one of the guards presses a dagger into Decimus's shaking hand. The senator stares down at it, horrified. "Prove your devotion," Varro commands. "Strip away the last of her dignity. Cut free her gown so that Rome may see the purity of her loyalty and your obedience." Gasps ripple through the hall. Livia lets out a strangled cry, clutching at her gown. "Please, no!" Decimus's hand trembles so violently the blade nearly slips from his grip. He looks at her, at the Emperor, at the watching senators whose faces are pale masks of horror. He whispers, "Forgive me. Do it!" Varro's voice cracks like thunder. The room holds its breath as Decimus raises the dagger. His shoulders heave. His lips tremble. And then, with a motion more broken than deliberate, he slices through the silk of his wife's gown. The fabric falls away in tatters, pooling around her like the shroud of the dead. Livia lets out a sob that echoes across the chamber, raw and piercing. Decimus drops the dagger, his knees buckling as though the act itself has hollowed him out. Varro claps his hands together in delight, rising to his feet. "Behold!" he cries to the assembly. "This is Rome, a people who will sacrifice honor, pride, even love itself, to serve their emperor." And in that moment, the empire itself has been dragged onto its knees. Section 7. The emperor descends from the throne, moving with the casual arrogance of a man convinced that nothing in the world can oppose him. He steps over the scraps of Livia's gown, now nothing more than a heap of ruined silk at her knees. She curls forward, arms crossing over her body, but Varro only chuckles at the attempt to shield herself. He turns to the guests, spreading his arms as if conducting some perverse ceremony. "Do you see how fragile dignity is? One command, one choice, and it vanishes. Rome does not thrive on dignity. Rome thrives on obedience. And obedience belongs to me." The words are delivered like a sermon, as though this humiliation were a sacred truth. Some guests murmur assent, desperate to appear loyal. Others remain frozen, unable to even force words past their lips. Varro crouches beside Livia, tilting his head to study her with an almost childlike curiosity. "You are weeping," he notes softly. "Why? Should you not be proud to serve your emperor?" Her lips tremble. She cannot answer. Varro rises again and paces slowly, his voice growing louder. "This is what separates those who truly love Rome from those who merely pretend. It is easy to cheer in the circus, to toast victories, to wear wreaths at festivals. But devotion, real devotion, is to give the emperor what he desires, no matter the cost." He stops suddenly, his gaze locking onto you. The air in your lungs freezes. He points, his smile broad and cruel. "You," he says. "Rise." Every eye in the hall turns toward you. Your heart thunders in your chest, but you obey, standing slowly, praying your legs will not betray your fear by trembling. Varro's eyes gleam with delight, as though he has plucked a name at random from a jar. "What is your name, Senator?" "Lucius Marcellus." You answer, your voice rough. "Marcellus." He savors the sound. "Tell me, do you love your emperor?" The question is not a question. It is a trap. You feel the sweat bead on your neck. "Yes, Lord." You force out. "Good." Varro claps his hands together once, the sound echoing like a whip crack. "Then prove it. Bring forth your daughter." The world tilts. Your breath catches in your throat. Your daughter, barely 15, sitting beside your wife at the far end of the table, her eyes wide with confusion and terror. No, your wife whispers, clutching the girl's hand. But Varro is already laughing, his voice slicing through the air like a blade. Yes. Tonight Rome will see what loyalty is worth to the house of Marcellus. Come, do not keep your emperor waiting. The guards begin to move. Section 8. The scrape of armored boots against marble sends terror rushing through your veins. 2 Praetorian guards march down the aisle between the tables, their bronze helmets glinting in the torchlight. They advance toward your wife and daughter, who clutch each other as though sheer force of will might keep the soldiers at bay. Your daughter's voice cracks as she whispers, "Father?" The sound is a blade in your chest. Enough hesitation, Varro declares. Bring her forward. The guards pry your daughter's hands from your wife's desperate grip. She cries out, thrashing, but the men lift her easily as though she weighs no more than a child's doll. Your wife lurches to her feet, but a guard slams the butt of his spear against the floor beside her. The warning is clear. She collapses back into her seat, shaking violently. You want to scream, to lunge across the hall, to fight with tooth and nail if need be, but every instinct tells you the outcome would be death not only for you but for them as well. You stand paralyzed, forced to watch as your daughter is dragged toward the dais. Varro's eyes glitter with something between amusement and hunger. Behold the young jewel of the house of Marcellus, he proclaims to the assembly. What finer gift could a senator offer his emperor than his very bloodline? Your daughter struggles in the guard's grasp, kicking wildly, her cries echoing off the marble walls. No! Please! Father! The room is silent except for her sobs. Senators sit with faces carved of stone, staring fixedly at their plates or the floor. Wives close their eyes. A few of the older men mutter prayers under their breath. None move. None speak. The guards force your daughter to her knees before the throne, beside Livia, who remains shuddering, her torn gown pulled at her feet. Livia turns her head slightly, whispering something to the girl, perhaps a prayer, perhaps a plea for courage. Varro raises his goblet and drains it in a single swallow. Wine dribbles down his chin as he tosses the vessel aside, where it shatters against the steps of the dais. He spreads his arms wide, as though about to embrace the heavens. Marcellus! He cries, his voice ringing in the vaulted chamber. Show Rome your loyalty! Deliver to me the most precious treasure you own, your child's innocence. For what is loyalty, if not the surrender of all that you hold sacred? The guards tighten their hold on your daughter's arms. She wails, tears streaking down her face, eyes locked on yours in desperate pleading. Father! Please! Your knees nearly buckle beneath you. Every fiber of your being screams to rush forward, to strike Varro down where he stands, but the circle of Praetorian steel surrounding the hall makes the thought madness. The Emperor steps closer, smiling as though this were a wedding rather than a desecration. Choose, he whispers, his voice silken and deadly. Obedience, or treason. Section 9. The words strike you like a hammer. Obedience or treason. Around you, the hall is frozen in breathless silence, every senator, every wife, every servant staring yet pretending not to see. Your daughter's sobs shatter you, but deeper still is the knowledge that Varro has already won. Whether you obey or defy, the game ends with your ruin. And yet, a strange calm takes hold. You see clearly now what Marcus Severus tried to warn you of. There is no survival in appeasing madness. There is only slow destruction, stretched out by fear. You lift your chin, meeting Varro's gleaming eyes. I will not, you say, voice steady though your heart pounds like a war drum. Rome may bow to you, but my family will not. The hall gasps. Some senators cover their mouths. Others grip their goblets so hard the bronze dents. For the first time that night, Varro's smile falters. His head tilts, curious, as though examining a strange insect. Then his laughter erupts, manic and wild, bouncing from the marble walls. Glorious! He roars. A senator with a spine at last! And yet, His hand flicks like a whip. The guard's blades flash. You lunge forward, but too late. A dagger pierces your side as another soldier restrains you. Pain burns white-hot through your body, dropping you to your knees. Your wife screams. Your daughter shrieks. The hall descends into chaos, gasps, shouts, the scrape of chairs against stone. Through the haze, you see Varro standing over you, radiant in his silver robes, looking down as if you were nothing more than a curious experiment. "Remember this, Marcellus," he says softly. "Defiance is a beautiful thing. But beauty dies quickly. Your vision blurs. You hear your daughter's cries, your wife's sobs, then only the echo of the Emperor's laughter, ringing endlessly in your skull." Epilogue. They say Emperor Lucius Aurelius Varro reigned only 4 years before his own guards turned their blades on him, ending his reign in the same palace corridors where he had broken so many. But for those who lived under his shadow, the scars remained. Families shattered, reputations destroyed, generations marked by silence. The Palatine Palace still stands in ruins today, its stones mute witnesses to nights of horror and humiliation. And though Varro's body rotted centuries ago, his lesson endures. When power knows no limits, cruelty becomes its own religion. Rome survived him. But those who sat in his hall that night knew the truth. An emperor may die, yet the corruption he sows can outlive empires.